Cleaning house after 70 to 4 simple tips to make it easier. Hello everyone, dear friends. Have you ever walked into the living room, looked around, and sighed? Not because you were tired, but because you knew you would have to face a mountain of work just to keep the house tidy. Me too. That morning, when the sunlight filtered through the window, I saw thick dust on the oak cabinet that had been with me for more than 30 years, and old magazines still piled up in the corner of the table. I wondered, do I still have enough strength to clean everything like before? When we pass the age of 70, our health is no longer the same. Simple movements such as bending down to pick something up or standing for a long time to clean the windows can make our backs ache and our knees ache. But the house still has to be clean. Living in a tidy space is not only good for our physical health, but also helps our minds to be clearer and our moods to be happier. Research from Princeton University, USA, shows that a cluttered living environment can cause a feeling of overload and reduce the ability to concentrate. That is especially important when age makes memory and alertness more fragile than ever. So, in today's video, I want to invite you to talk about something that seems simple but makes many of us tired: cleaning the house. But not the kind of cleaning like when we were young, rolling up our sleeves and doing it all from morning to evening. No, we will find ways to clean together to make it lighter, smarter, and especially safer. Maybe you live alone, or just a couple, with children and grandchildren far away. But that doesn't mean we can't take care of our home, right? I will share 4 simple tips, but I believe that when you finish listening, you will think, it turns out that just changing the way you think and do things can make it much less tiring. So, please sit down, make yourself a cup of hot tea, and let's start with the first tip, which I learned after a time when I thought it was easy but it turned out to be heavy. That day, I intended to mop the kitchen floor. Normally, it's not a big deal. But because I hadn't done it for a long time, I decided to clean it all at once, from the kitchen cabinets to the floor, from the microwave to under the dining table. The result? After only half an hour, I had to sit down on the chair, out of breath. My knees hurt, my shoulders were sore, my body was tired. I couldn't do anything all day. From that day on, I learned my first lesson. Tip 1. Don't do it all in one day. Divide the work into smaller tasks according to your area and strength. It sounds obvious, but in reality, many of us, especially when we are still used to a dynamic lifestyle, are often workaholics. I used to tell myself, let's just do it all in one session, so I don't have to think about it anymore. But in fact, if we divide the work into small parts, each day we only do a small part, not only will we be less tired, but we will also create a habit that can be maintained for a long time. For example, on Monday we only wipe the table and chairs in the dining room. On Tuesday we vacuum the bedroom. On Wednesday we clean the refrigerator. Each task should not take more than 15 to 20 minutes. That way, the body is not overloaded, and the mood is also lighter. Moreover, there is something quite interesting. When you complete a small task each day, you will feel like you are progressing, not being overwhelmed by a mountain of housework. This mentality is very important at our age, because the feeling of control over life is an extremely good mental medicine. A study from the U.S. National Institute on Aging shows that older people who have the habit of dividing their daily activities will reduce the risk of depression and anxiety by 30% compared to those who try to do everything at once. This really makes me rethink my way of life. And here's another little trick I learned from my best friend in San Diego. She has a little whiteboard in her kitchen. Every week, she writes out a cleaning schedule. Monday, organize the bookshelves. Tuesday, sweep the balcony. Nothing fancy, but thanks to that whiteboard, she always knows what she needs to do today, without getting confused. So, if you're not feeling well today, take a break. Tomorrow, just wiping the bathroom mirror is already a step forward. Cleaning the house doesn't have to be a lifelong task. When I got used to dividing up the work, I realized something else that made me equally tired: the old things that I kept just for the sake of it. The cups and bowls that I hadn't touched since my wife passed away, or the broken electrical cord that I kept thinking maybe I'll need it someday. That's why I decided to apply the next tip. Tip 2. Reduce your belongings, less but quality, compact and easy on the heart. I know, talking about getting rid of things is the hardest thing in life. Every item in our house has a memory, a part of our memory. But my friends, the memory is still there, whether we keep it or not. Keep a few items that really matter, and donate the rest, or even throw them away if they don't work. I remember one time when I decided to give away some old clothes, I suddenly realized that I had 4 identical sweaters. I kept them just because I thought, they're so pretty, what if it gets cold this year? But every year I only wear one. The rest just sit in the closet. So I picked out the best one, and took the others to a charity center in Portland. They were happy, and I was relieved. Reducing clutter not only helps keep your home tidy, but also reduces the risk of falls. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, falls are the leading cause of serious injury in people over 65, and most accidents happen at home, especially because of excess objects. Just clearing your walkways and removing things from the floor is a way to protect your health. Here's a gentle way to start. Pick a small drawer. Clean out one drawer every day. Ask yourself, have I used this in the last 6 months? If the answer is no, then maybe we should give it a chance to go to someone else. I know people who call this giving back memories. A friend in Florida once said, I don't throw things away, I send them on a new journey. How wonderful that sounds. From those small drawers, I began to feel, the space in my house seemed to expand. Every time I walked through the living room or into the kitchen, I no longer felt cluttered. And most importantly, I began to feel lighter. I believe that when we clear out things, we are also clearing away invisible pressures that we sometimes don't even realize. We see more clearly where we live, what we have, and what we need to live truly comfortably. And now, when the house has been clearly divided into tasks and the amount of stuff has been significantly reduced, I started to think about another problem: how to use technology cleverly to make cleaning almost hands-free. Let's explore that together right away. I still remember, after getting used to dividing the work into smaller parts and getting rid of stuff, I started to feel lighter. As if my whole body had been relieved of an invisible burden. Home is still home, but it no longer makes me tired every time I look around. But then one day, while mopping the kitchen floor with an old mop that has been with me for years, I suddenly asked myself, why don't I let modern things help me? Being 70 doesn't mean we can't shake hands with technology. In fact, if we know how to use it properly, machines can be close friends that help us save energy, protect our joints and time. Let's move on to tip 3. Take advantage of smart devices and supporting technology. Cleaning the house is no longer a torture. When I was young, I didn't believe in so-called robot vacuum cleaners. I thought, how can that round machine clean with my hands? But then, one day, when I went to my niece's house in Sacramento, I saw that round machine moving back and forth in the living room, even under the sofa, under the bed, working steadily without a single complaint. At that time, I laughed. Wow, if I had this at home, my back would be much less painful. A few weeks later, I rewarded myself with a mid-range robot vacuum cleaner, which cost about $200, but worked reliably. I set it to run every morning, while I was drinking tea or watching the news. Just like that, the floor was always clean, no more breadcrumbs or dust around the table legs. What I like most is that I don't have to bend over, which can easily cause back pain or dizziness at this age. In addition to the robot vacuum cleaner, I also replaced my old mop with a light steam mop, with a long handle and a 360-degree rotating head. It helps me clean faster, without having to wring my hands like before, and it kills bacteria effectively. Things that used to take a lot of effort are now just small things. Research from the University of California, Berkeley said, using the right support tools can reduce the risk of falls or musculoskeletal pain in the elderly when doing housework by up to 40%. That's not just a number, but a reality that I have experienced and felt every day. And don't think that using modern devices is a young person's thing. We have the right to live comfortably, as long as it makes us safer and more comfortable. My son once said, "Dad has worked hard all his life, now it's time for machines to do it for him, not the other way around." Using technology to help was a big step forward, but then I realized that there was something else that was quietly making the chore of cleaning a chore: loneliness. Cleaning alone in a quiet house can sometimes feel like being left out, especially for those who live alone. I used to sigh while wiping the table because I felt like I was the only one busy in that quiet space. But then I discovered something that could change that mood in just a few minutes. Tip 4. Turn cleaning into a spiritual activity. Do it, live in the moment. The story was that one Sunday afternoon, while I was folding some towels in the laundry room, I tried playing some old jazz on the small Bluetooth speaker my nephew got me for his birthday. The saxophone played, the slow beat, and it felt like I was back in my youth in Chicago. Strangely, even though I was still doing housework, I felt happy. Not a lively joy, but a warm joy, as if I had just found a part of my memory in this seemingly monotonous task. From then on, every time I cleaned, I turned on something that made me feel connected. Sometimes it was a gentle lecture on health, sometimes it was the reading of a book by an online storyteller, or simply the sound of ocean waves from a meditation app. I began to no longer see cleaning as a duty, but as a time to slow down. Each folded towel was a time to practice patience. Each time I swept the yard, I saw the sunlight glistening on the leaves, heard the birds calling to each other through the canopy. We don't need to do it to finish, but do it to live. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Positive Psychology found that when older adults engaged in simple tasks mindfully, meaning they were fully engaged in what they were doing, they improved their life satisfaction and reduced their anxiety symptoms by 23%. I tried it and it worked. When I put my phone away, stopped scrolling through the news, and focused on cleaning a cupboard or washing a few glasses, my mind became clearer. No more worries about the past or the future, just me and the moment. As these habits gradually took shape, I began to feel more in tune with my home. No longer feeling burdened by responsibility, but a sense of belonging. The house was the same, but the way I lived in it had changed. One day, I was cleaning the cupboard while humming a few old songs. No one listened, no one criticized, just me, and I still felt happy. And then, one afternoon, while sipping a cup of tea on the porch, looking at my small house peacefully in the sun, I suddenly understood. Cleaning the house is not just about cleaning a space, but about taking care of yourself, little by little. No one forces us to keep the house like when we were in our 30s. But if every day, we spend a little time, not too much, not pressured to take care of the place we live, then that space will become a companion. It lifts our spirits, helps us stay alert, and most of all, helps us feel like we are still in control of our lives. We have talked about dividing work into smaller pieces, reducing belongings, using technology, and living mindfully in every action. But there is still one more thing. Perhaps the most important, something I only realized when I accidentally invited a friend over one March morning. That March morning, the weather was not too cold, the sun was gentle, the wind blew indifferently through the branches of the trees in the front yard. I was about to pick up the mop when the doorbell rang. It was my old friend, Uncle Louie, my Sunday chess buddy at the community center. I invited him in, put the kettle on the stove, and then I suddenly apologized. My house is a bit messy. I wanted to clean it this morning but didn't have time. Uncle Louie just smiled and said softly, "It's good that the house has signs of life, my friend." Then he looked around, nodded and continued, "I see you're doing a good job. It looks neat and cozy. This house reflects who you are." That statement left me speechless. I realized that, more than all the ways, tips, and smart devices we've talked about, there is one very important thing that is sometimes overlooked: connection. Connection with yourself, with your living space, and with the people around you. Tip 5. This is a profound extension. Many of us, after the age of 70, live alone. Maybe it's because the kids have grown up and moved out, or your spouse has gone to dust. The house has gradually become quiet, sometimes quiet to the point of emptiness. And cleaning in silence can bring back memories, making us more tired than the work itself. But if you pay attention, just having someone to accompany you will make everything lighter. Maybe invite an old friend over and arrange some things in the kitchen together. Or ask your grandchildren to help you get things from high up when they come to visit. or simply call a relative on FaceTime, talking while folding clothes. Presence, whether direct or indirect, brings positive energy. Once I texted my daughter, "Can you come over to help me clean the kitchen cabinets this weekend?" She agreed immediately. But the precious thing is, in those 2 hours, we didn't just clean the cabinets. We told stories, laughed, and reminisced about the days when her mother was still alive. The result is a sparkling clean kitchen and a happy heart. According to a 2020 study from Harvard Medical School, doing housework with loved ones, especially children and grandchildren, can improve the mental health of older adults, reducing the risk of depression by 30%. So don't be afraid to ask for help, don't be afraid to bother. Cleaning the house can be an excuse for us to get closer and understand each other better. As I say this, you may be thinking, I don't have anyone close to me to do the housework with, but don't feel bad. We can still share space creatively. I have a friend in Texas who lives alone, without any family nearby, but she still finds ways to feel connected. She joins an online group on social media where people from all over share photos of their houses after cleaning, share tips, and encourage each other every week. I feel like I have a community, she says. Even though we've never met, they make me feel less alone. We can write a diary entry after finishing a job, share it with a group of friends via email, or simply treat ourselves to afternoon tea after cleaning our favorite corner. Connecting with ourselves, with the results we create, that's also a joy. And then, after all the things I have learned in life, I understand that cleaning the house is no longer a duty, but a way to continue to take control of your life. I have witnessed many elderly people falling into a feeling of helplessness, as if life is slipping away from their hands, day by day. But when you clean a corner of the room, fold a pile of clothes, wipe a table, you will feel, I can still do it. I am still capable. I still live with purpose. It is that initiative, no matter how small, that helps us maintain our memory, maintain emotional balance, and improve our quality of life. From a scientific perspective, researchers at the National Institute on Aging have shown that light physical activity combined with daily initiative can prolong life and reduce the risk of cognitive decline. So, dear friend, if you are looking around your house and feel overwhelmed by the cleaning task, remember what I said. Break down the work, a little bit each day, don't take on too much. Get rid of things that no longer serve your current life, to feel lighter and breathe easier. Use modern technology and tools to save energy, protect your health. Turn cleaning into a living experience, with music, memories, and mindfulness. And finally, don't clean alone, if possible. Let love accompany you, whether through a hug, a phone call, or a simple text message. Life after 70 is not about waiting quietly. It is a series of days we choose to live fully, in our own way. And cleaning the house, seemingly a small thing, is one of the ways we show love to ourselves, to our home, and to what we have built all our lives. If you ever feel tired, try again, gently. Start with a drawer, a chair, a window. Then you will see, your living space begins to smile at you. Like an old friend reunited after a long time, ready to continue your journey with you. If you find this video useful, click the like button to let me know you are still here with me. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button so you do not miss the upcoming stories very real, dedicated to us, people who always cherish every simple moment. Share in the comments, do you have any cleaning tips? Is there anything that makes you find housework more enjoyable? I look forward to reading each of your shares. Wishing you a peaceful day, a cozy home, and a gentle soul. Thank you all for listening. See you in the next video, where we will continue to explore aging life in an inspiring way.